Well, hello lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is without a doubt one of the more difficult ones I've ever had to film. And I'm not going to be the overly bubbly, overly flaily arm person that I normally am in these videos, because this is a sensitive topic and it's one that I want to treat with respect and delicacy. And that is how to deal with divorced parents on your wedding day. This is not going to be like a widely needed video. I'm aware of that. But for those who need it, they need it. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to sit on down and talk about how you deal with divorced parents on your wedding day, or even just family members that aren't speaking to each other. How do you navigate through that? And while I can't speak to the emotions in your particular situation, I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what's going on in your family. What I can do is I can help you with the logistics of everything. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. One of the most important things that you need to do when figuring out how to deal with divorced parents on your wedding day is do a lot of planning beforehand, because you really don't want all of this to kind of blow up on your wedding day. You want to make sure that you take your time to prepare yourself and both of your parents beforehand, so you don't run into any snafus or awkward situations. And while it's painful and it's really hard sometimes to have these conversations, it's better to do it before your event than it is at your event. When it comes to navigating these few tips that I have, treat it like a Venn diagram of sorts. The three factors that you'll need to consider are your emotions, both during the planning and on your wedding day, your parents' emotions, both during the planning and on your wedding day, and the future of your relationships. And you kind of need to weigh all three of those factors to make sure that you are making the best decision for your day. For example, not including a parent in a particular aspect of your event because you're mad right now may not necessarily be the wisest choice. But if that parent has been absent for a very long time, or you no longer feel a connection to, then the longevity of that relationship may not be a concern. So again, you're gonna have to kind of deal with this as you see best fit. But bear in mind that it will bode really, really well to weigh all of those options together. The first thing you're going to need to discuss is plus ones. And if one parent is bringing a plus one, I do recommend that you highly encourage the other parent to bring a plus one as well. That can be a best friend, it could be a sibling, a sister, a brother, or it could be a date, because it can be really hard for them on your wedding day to sit alone. So to allow them a plus one can help with their comfort level, and that person can also act as a buffer if needed. If possible, this is such a hard topic. Well, guys, I would say that if at all possible, if there has been infidelity in the relationship, that you ask that parent to not bring that partner to your wedding day. Again, you got to do what works best for you, but it's better to have that conversation before than it is to deal with it on your wedding day. It's that balance of your emotions and his emotions and her emotions and the overall longevity of the relationships. The next thing you're going to want to consider is something that I like to call body buffers. And that is just someone, whether it's a sibling or a member of your bridal party, that is there for you to help you navigate that on your wedding day. This person can often jump in if an overly emotional mom tries to monopolize the situation. This is such a hard one. This person is there for you to help you navigate through this. Just in case anything pops up, just let someone else in the bridal party or a member of your family be aware of your feelings on the situation. So in case they see something start to arise, they can step in for you so you don't have to. The next thing you're probably going to need to do is tell the professionals. This is one thing that I actually have in a questionnaire that I ask everyone. Are there any strained family relations that you want us to be aware of? They don't have to tell us. It's just, hey, if you want us to be aware of this sort of situation, just let us know beforehand, because we'd be more than happy to help you navigate through that process. So the professionals that you will most likely need to tell would be your wedding planner or coordinator, your photographer, and your videographer. And the reason for that is if your photographer doesn't know that your parents aren't on speaking terms and then calls for both parents to be in the picture with you, and then you have that moment of like, yeah, that's not gonna work. You don't want that to happen on your wedding day. So letting your coordinator or planner, your photographer, and your videographer know that it's best to keep them apart, or it's best to do different family sections beforehand will help to lessen the amount of stress and the amount of communication that you're gonna have to do on your wedding day. Next, have an escape route planned. If something goes down, if you're concerned about the emotional welfare or emotional well-being of one or both parents, make sure your body buffers or your professionals are prepared to step in and enact that escape route. So if someone gets a little too inebriated, make sure that your brother is prepared to step up and take your mom away from the location. Or make sure your uncle knows to remove your father if he gets to the point where he's kind of being disorderly. This stuff is so uncomfortable to talk about. I'm so sorry. But if you have an escape route planned, then it will put your mind at ease and you won't have to stress about it on your wedding day. So now let's talk about the overall logistics of the wedding day. We've done our prep work, we're ready. Let's talk about what the wedding day looks like. The first part is the ceremony. Who escorts the bride? I've had this question before, stepdad versus biological dad. And this, again, comes down to your emotions and the longevity of those relationships. If you feel like it would be best to have your mom escort you down the aisle, know that you have that freedom to do so. There is no sort of wedding police just waiting to jump in if you don't do things exactly according to plan. And if you're worried that someone's feelings might be hurt because you ask someone else to walk you down the aisle, do your best to have that conversation beforehand. Because as you can see, the theme here is we're just avoiding stress and pressure on your wedding day. Have those conversations ahead of time so no one's surprised when you choose to walk down with your stepdad instead of your biological dad. When it comes to the actual seating of parents at the ceremony, oftentimes the first row or first 2 rows are reserved for family. But this is where it kind of gets tricky. If your parents or your spouse-to-be's parents are no longer together, you don't quite know where to seat them. So how it normally goes is the mother and her family would go in the first row and the father and his family would go in the second row. If that doesn't work out well for you guys, you can feel free to swap those. So you can have mother of the bride on this side and father of the bride on this side. It just depends on what works best for your situation. Moving on to cocktail hour. Obviously, we've already discussed sharing this with your photographer, but this is why it's important to talk with your photographer about this, because you have family photos during this time. Your wedding planner may stick around a little bit during family photos just to make sure that everything's going really smoothly. Your body buffers will be aware of the fact that this is probably the time that they will be in the closest proximity without any sort of formalities in between them, like a ceremony to keep them quiet. So this can be one of the more intense moments. So having your body buffers ready and prepared professionals will really help to kind of smooth out this area that could potentially cause tension. So that way you can take photos with your mom and her side of the family and with your dad and his side of the family. And then your photographer doesn't call for both parents in one photo. Then comes the reception. I mean, this probably goes without being said, but don't put them at the same table. If they are not in the place to be around each other, do your best to put them on opposite but equal important sides. So your mom can have her own table and your dad can have his own table, both with their family members and plus ones. I would say do your best to kind of keep them equidistant to you if you can, but at the end of the day, seating charts are a nightmare as is, so you just do whatever works best for you. Toasts. Most traditionally, the father of the bride gives a toast during this time. But if you've been watching my videos for a while, then you know that tradition is basically out the window at this point. You can kind of do whatever you want. You don't have to have any parent toasts at all whatsoever. Or you can give each parent the opportunity to toast. Who knows? Maybe your mom's like, I don't want to give one. No thanks. Sure, your father can give one. That's great. It's fine. But again, have these conversations beforehand so no one's grabbing the mic and maybe sharing a little bit too much of their passive-aggressive tendencies for all to hear. And then the last element that might need to be considered is parent dances. Again, you don't have to do them. Just if it's uncomfortable and you're not quite sure if you want to dance with your stepdad or your biological dad, you don't have to do either. Or if you want to, you can do both. Guys, I know this was a heavy one. Trust me, it was hard to even put together this list because this is emotional and wedding planning is tough as is. And then you toss in some strained family relations on top of that and it just feels like it's almost impossible to navigate. So while I don't know your emotional situation, I hope that these few tips will help you to navigate this a little bit better. Have the conversations early on. Make sure you're prepared. Do your best to not leave these details to your actual wedding day. Because one of the biggest parts of planning a wedding is to get all the stressful stuff out of the way so you can enjoy your day. And this is one of those elements. So that's all we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're going through this and you find it to be really difficult, know that I am so sorry. Oh, I kind of feel like I'm gonna cry because this one's a hard one. And I'm so sorry, and I hope this helps. If you have additional questions on how to handle strained family relations, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. We are creating this fantastic community of helping each other out and answering each other's questions. So even if I don't have an answer for you, someone else might be in your particular situation as well and may have some tidbits of advice or suggestions or just a pal to commiserate with. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, like this video, subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. And until next week, bye guys.